Siegel, and I am the Director of Law School Publishing for LexisNexis. And my group handles, they go out into the field, talk to faculty members, find out, the pedagogical trends and market needs for teaching materials. We accept acquisitions and proposals to put together, casebooks and other teaching materials for courses. We publish those, and then, of course, we go back into the field, promote those, and gather, faculty feedback. I'm here with Trish Monaco, who is our Director of Product Planning.
As Kelly said, I'm actually fairly new to the law school arena, but I've been with Lexis for over 12 years, working in various capacities. Actually, if you were around when we launched Lexis.com, that was one of the products that I was involved in. And then, as you're going to see, skills and values. As Kelly said, I'm incredibly interested to hear feedback and reactions as more schools are getting into skills-based learning and really exploring how can we make this work and what kind of tools can we integrate into our courses to expand and enhance the learning experience. So I appreciate your time this afternoon.
And we are also here with Professor Scott Burnham. He is a professor at law at the University of Montana School of Law. You all also may know of him because he serves on the Cali Board of Directors as Vice President. And he is one of our series editors for the Skills and Values Series. Anything else that you would like to?
Well, I guess the only thing I'd add is that that for years I've taught from a skills perspective, and the two questions that people always ask me are, how can I do this and still have time to cover the material? And how can I do this and still have time for the rest of my life? So these books are supposed to be a partial answer to those questions.
I really would like to engage everyone. And we've got time. If you don't mind, why don't you go around the room, introduce yourself, where you're from, what role you serve there, and if you feel so inclined, talk about your own interest in skills-based pedagogy or online platforms. I'll take volunteers, or start with you, Christina.
Kristen Adrianhouse, Cleveland State University. I'm Director of the Law Library and also a faculty member. I'm actually writing a book in a different series with sort of a similar mission. And I'm on our curriculum review committee.
So you're a spy.
No. I actually didn't know about I came because I'm on the curriculum review committee, but it's because we just had an authors conference and talked the whole, how do I incorporate skills without, ruining my life kind of question that people ask.
I'm June Liebert, and I'm the Law Library Director and a professor at John Marshall Law School in Chicago. And I'm here for a variety of reasons. I'm working closely with our Director of Distance Education to see if we can make any progress in that area. And then also our school is undergoing a 2-year curriculum review process for this exact kind of thing. So I'm curious to hear what you've been working on.
My name is Paul Rickard. I'm the law librarian at the University of Akron, and so we don't trust anybody from Cleveland. All these questions. And so we're dealing with the legal research and writing. We've got 4 new faculty here in the librarians. We're going to be collaborating with them on the new program. And I'll be teaching a course in the spring, which I've never taught, a substantive course, but I'll be teaching international human rights. And I'm trying to get into experiential things, something about waterboarding and how I can work that into experience.
Waterboarding students. That's why we don't talk.
Don't they call that distance learning?
Well, I think we don't want to use experience.
I'm Amy Jacob from the University of Western Ontario Law School, and I'm the Media and Technology Coordinator. And I'm very interested in what the future demands from the faculty and the future needs will be as far as learning management systems and changing the curriculum in a way that, what might call distance or more online learning or things like that.
Up to me already? Oh, that's right. Scott already went. I'm sorry. Representing Ohio again, Ken Hirsch, Law Library Director and Professor at the University of Cincinnati, also on the curriculum committee. We, in fact, have a neglected history of having skills or practical learning classes in the 1950s and early 60s, which I think would be part of revitalizing at the University of Cincinnati.
Randy Thompson, Director of Library and IT at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville. I'd like to make law school education relevant.
I'm Jerry Roberts. I'm a reference librarian at Florida Coastal School of Law, and anytime I can take anything back new to a professor, just makes me look like a genius. So I'm in.
I'm David Miller. I'm an assistant professor of legal studies at the American Military University. I teach undergraduate and graduate level classes, mostly in criminal justice.
I'm Patty Morgan. I'm a reference librarian at the University of Florida in Gainesville, and I'm a recent hire, but having come to private practice, I'm very interested in making law education more practical and relevant to actually what happens after school.
Hi, I'm Yolanda Jones, and I'm Assistant Director for Electronic Information Services at Villanova University Law School Library outside of Philadelphia. And I'm here because our legal research and writing departments, we're kind of looking at new ways of presenting materials in electronic textbooks, and so I was just interested in this platform.
I'm Denise Sharif from Boston College Law School. I'm the educational technology librarian, legal reference librarian, as well as a lecturer in law. Teach advanced legal research, and a lot of my faculty contacts are the clinical professors, so trying to see and then they're really just trying to introduce more skill-based into the curriculum as well. So.
I'm Sandy Klotzek. I'm at the University of Nebraska. I'm the head of public services and one of the reference librarians, and I'm just really interested to see what's new out there and what we can integrate at our school, especially in the legal research end.
Hi, I'm Steve Bradford. I'm at the University of Nebraska as well. I'm a faculty member, and I'm just interested in looking at ways to incorporate skills into my courses.
I'm Steve Gibson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the National Institute for Trial Advocacy, which is NIDA here and NIDA if you're out in the Boston area. And but we obviously do skills training, and we also have a long-standing and active and positive partnership with LexisNexis.
I'm Ken Ramus. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Lincoln Memorial University, and we're starting the new Duncan School of Law, so I'm here gathering ideas. We're heavily involved in technology and some of our skills. I'm kind of interested to see what you're doing here.
I'm Jack McNeil. I'm the Associate Director at Pace Law Library, and my interest is in bringing in the legal law office technology. For example, if you're in a bankruptcy firm, you have bankruptcy software. And then bringing that content, the bankruptcy, for example, course content, into that, kind of mixing it together so that as part of the course you would actually use the software nationally.
I'm Don Dornberg. I teach at Pace University. I'm here because I really like the coffee. And because I also began a clinic last year in special education law, and I want to see if I can integrate some of this stuff into the clinic, but also into the classroom courses that I teach.
I'm Katie Sparks. I'm the local Lexis rep, and I'm just taking it all in.
I'm Mike Bushbaum from Valparaiso University. I'm the associate law librarian there, and I am our guinea pig librarian who is trying to integrate legal tax research into the tax clinic program. And if it goes over, then they'll take it further than that.
I'm Jim Beckwith from North Carolina Central Law in Durham. We have happily a very, very advanced technological platform, but they took away one of my hours in contracts, so it's now 6 down to 5, and I lost that battle.
And so I have the perennial struggle. I have mandatory graded midterms, yet I want to put skills components into the 5 hours I've got left, and it's a challenge.
I'm Angela Wade. I'm a 2L here at Colorado, and I'm just trying to learn skills to start with.
I'm Kathy Deal. I'm a faculty member at Hamlin Law School in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm interested in all the perspectives because I teach traditional courses in taxation and nonprofits. I direct the Small Business Nonprofit Clinic. I direct the competition simulation program, and I'm the director of the Practice of Externship program.
I'm Sarah Spence from North Carolina Central University School of Law. I'm the director of Law School Relations, and I am not a professor, but I'm hoping to gain some information that I can take back to some of my colleagues.
I'm Amanda Runyon. I'm a reference librarian at the University of Texas. I will be teaching in the fall for the first time. And we have a lot of clinical programs. A lot of my faculty contacts are in the clinics. But also, more importantly, some of our collection development people who couldn't be here asked me to attend this.
Good.
So.
And welcome. From an alumni. Karen?
Yeah. My name is Karen Schneiderman, and I'm here with the two other people that walk in late from Brooklyn Law School. And I'm the emerging technology librarian, and I'm here just because I think this is important. I think this is why I want to be a librarian.
I don't see your name, but you're not going to. Do you mind introducing yourself?
No, no problem. I am Karen's partner in crime, and I see our educational technology specialist, Lloyd, also here. And yeah, I just want to see how I can integrate this more into my international and formal research course. And we started a faculty liaison program last year, and I'd like to see how we can push this out.
You have to tell us your name, Jean.
Yeah, Jean Davis.
And Lloyd?
Hi, as she said, I'm one of the partners in crime here. Brooklyn Law School's taking over the whole county right now. So a lot of criminals. I'm in technology education at the school, so anything to do with pushing out better ways to teach technology through the school is what I'm interested in. So.
Good. Thank you. I hope that wasn't too painful. First of all, it's good to see a nice mix of IT directors, faculty members, and librarians, because I know that there's a librarian session going on, so it's nice to see a representation here. And that's helpful for us to see what kinds of things you do, where this might be applicable, what subject areas we might need to target next. Tax, I heard, in a few spots. And where we might need to focus our marketing efforts. You mentioned that your course was reduced from 6 hours to 5 hours, and this is designed to be a self-study type of series to address that type of dilemma. I'm just going to hand.
Thanks. Trish just told me about this book, and now I get it. This is cool.
Is that the told you about Law School 2.0 or that
this
particular
series?
One? Okay. We also have another book that a few of you didn't get before we ran out. It's called Law School 2.0. It was authored by David Thompson. Yeah, I figured it. That's the one that has a lot of buzz right now. We published it. It was authored by David Thompson, who I'm sure many of you know and are familiar with. And his theory, his ideas that he wrote about and incorporated in his book is kind of the foundation for what we're presenting. Has anybody already read Law School 2.0?
Half of it.
Very good.
One of our faculty members said this is very good.
And it's a quick read. The reason that I point that out, and the reason why we brought that particular book in conjunction with the skills and values and to talk about it, is because I think it's a really good starting point for you, or a springboard for that matter, to think about how this generation, I guess we call it the millennial generation of students, is really working from a technology standpoint, from a learning standpoint, from an expectation standpoint. So I really encourage you to read that in conjunction with thinking about how you're going to, if you aren't already, incorporate skills-based training into your curriculum.
Do you have more downstairs at your booth?
A couple more.
I've
Why
got an
don't-
extra one, Star. So
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay,
if
that's great.
any of you
We're
want
colleagues.
extra copies, what we did, we sent out a number of copies to everyone we had in our database, all the faculty members and deans. We did not yet send them to the librarian. That's forthcoming, and some of our reps have already distributed them to the librarians. But if anyone needs a copy, wants a copy, either let me know after this, or let the folks down at the table know. We'll be sure to send copies to you and your colleagues. Just for a little explanation about what Skills and Values Series is, the big picture view. It's a series of subject-specific, practice-oriented books supported by a robust online platform. And as many of you are already aware from the description and from the reason you're here, this series is designed to challenge students to apply the substantive content from their course in a way that helps them see what lawyers do in their day-to-day life. The online platform that accompanies this is designed to appeal to professors who are looking for different ways to teach to different learning styles, and actively engage their students. And currently we have these 3 books published, releasing in the next month to 6 weeks. I'm sure most of you are familiar with these reports. And we developed this series in response to these high-profile reports that have urged the Legal Academy to change their curriculum so that the curriculum emphasizes and develops knowledge, skills, and values progressively. And the name Skills and Values was actually taken directly from language from a curriculum. And there are a large number of schools that already have a very formal skills-based program. And I'm sure one of the more high-profile ones is Washington and Lee, but because they are integrating, I guess, a full practicum into their 3rd-year class. Common characteristics of the book in this series. Lawyering behavior. What do lawyers really do? What knowledge and skills do they need and need to develop? What activities precede or follow the litigation process? There's an emphasis on fact-finding in law school. Students are given the facts, and they're asked to find and apply the law. Here, the law is assumed, and students are asked to find the facts. And a connection between theory and practice. We know that more schools, more courses are more practice-oriented as opposed to the traditional theoretical method of teaching. And within this series, students must perform activities not just to learn the application, the practical aspect, but to better understand the theoretical concepts. And it emphasizes planning and preventative law because students often make the assumption that their work is going to revolve around litigation. There are elements within each book that emphasize if you do the proper planning, perhaps that can be prevented. The features of the series, every book has an overview that describes type of work and work settings that a practicing lawyer in this area might experience. Simulations, both written simulations and exercises, as well as ones that are online. They give the students the opportunity to explore, some of the lawyering skills necessary. It appeals, as I mentioned before, to different learning styles, visual learning styles, experiential learning styles, those who, learn best when they read or participate in the activities. And it asks students to resolve ethical and personal dilemmas. Each book has a minimum of 14 hands-on exercises, and the materials are self-directed and self-assessed, but there are also online components that can be sent back to the professor. So quiz functionality or actual exercise
we have developed this series currently as a supplemental series, but as we are finding more and more professors are putting together their own course packets, we envision the possibility that this type of book will become the main course book, along with cases and other materials that professors have put together in lieu of assigning a casework. We call this a hybrid publication. And in a nutshell, that means we are leaving in the books what makes sense in print to appeal to those who need to read and reread something over again, or just learn from a reading perspective. And we are putting online those things that make sense to be online. So this is not an electronic book where we're basically just taking the content and putting it online, but we're trying to maximize the benefits of each type of medium. Are you familiar with mind maps? Mind map concept. This is something that David Thompson put together. And he's been our advisor with respect to Scott has been our advisor with respect to the general guidelines, and David's been our advisor to the platform. Yes.
Yeah, if you would put that in the running the show mode, it'd be easier for us all to see the slide.
I'm sorry?
You're not actually running the show, you're in the editing mode. If you would run the show, it'd be easier for us to see the
Oh, I'm
slides.
so sorry.
Where's the F5?
Little screen.
What is it? F5.
F5.
Throw you in there.
I am up here talking about something technical, and you can see. Thank you.
Another criminal activity.
And that goes to prove that this is a very intuitive series that you do. So this mind map represents the various components that an author will select to put on the platform. They can select, a few of these, they can select all of these. You can, as a professor teaching, turn on a few of these, turn on all of these, turn on sections of these within your own personal platform application.
I'm curious, as you have the chance to look at this particular mind map, and again, going back to those who've had the opportunity to read through Law School 2.0, are there any tools up here that you're already using in your classes to kind of bring an alternative media to the students, or to present a different way of teaching a particular concept?
Well, I mean, we've never used a casebook. We've always used a course page as the platform for our written material. We have the students create web guides at the end. You showed me that I'll be able to add to more types of media on a LexisNexis supported course page now, like videos. So,
I mean, the concept of this is not that now you're going to start slamming all these different kinds of technologies into your course, but rather start expanding the thought of, well, let's say I were teaching a student about how to give a good deposition. I'm just using an example. Well, what if I used audio or video instead of telling you or making you read about it? What if I incorporated a video, and then what you ask them to do as a skill is tell me what was right and tell me what was wrong. So the whole idea here again is start interacting with each other as as faculty members, as educators, to see what are other people doing, what kinds of technologies and things can you do. And you're not going to use all of these things, and for that matter, you're going to see when Kelly shows the online platform, not every practice area is going to lend itself to, yes, I'm going to use video, or I'm going to use animation, or any of those. But that there's so much technology out there that your students are using, and it's a means of furthering the learning process.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? I noticed one of the components is a Wiki teacher's manual. There's no particular reason why that would have to be confined to this series. Is there some reason why you're not doing that for all your books?
We will be.
Okay.
We are rolling out this particular platform with the Skills Values Series. And as we do that, and as we are thinking about, what kind of, and we're calling them adoption support pages, what kind of value-add materials can we add to our casebooks, that authors can immediately supplement, the materials to make them, as current as possible, as well as use that Wiki TM functionality to just get other perspectives. Any questions? Is this fairly self-explanatory? Animations might be one that, it's talking about, there are various things that could be an animation. It could be like a accident reconstruction where, you actually see a car approaching, the intersection and lights flashing and just a little bit of flash jazz. Quiz functionality, that can be something that the author themselves provides, or something that the instructor provides within their own version of the online platform, and something that within a wiki functionality they can provide, more widely. Class blogs, obviously those would be within a class and not within, the entire nation. Hyperlinks, to various things that the author feels that is important. Lexis product integration for those subject areas where it's applicable. Legal research and writing might be one that's more applicable than most.
Scott, have you used any of these, technologies or kinds of things that you're integrating in your courses?
Yeah, for purposes of this, so I think what's important is that I'm working with the authors, so I just want to liberate their imaginations and say, you think of the best way to teach this, we'll make it possible through all these different platforms. And so the author should, and if you're interested in authoring, please let me know that we just want to make it possible to do it, whatever it is.
Yes.
I was just wondering, do any of these now, or will they in the future integrate into the LexisNexis web courses at all? Or is that going to be two separate?
What a really good lead. Another star. You've got the stash. We need to start tagging him. And he gets one for this.
So if you hold on for about 2 minutes.
Any other questions about the general concept of the online platform? Yeah. What do we have here? Things that we've basically covered. Adopter customization, which we covered. Instant update.
I have a question. Sure. If a student, so say, I adopt one of these for my class and the students buy it, how long is their access to the electronic platform?
We have changed the platform. To her suggestion or anticipation, when we published this book, evidence book, probably the Sutherland's one, we were going down the route of a completely different server to house the online platform, a community server that would be powered through backend of Lexis. And as Trish will better speak to, we have had a long-standing relationship with web courses, or with Blackboard for the LexisNexis web course platform, course management system. Trish is working closely with Blackboard to integrate the 9.0 version that will have Web 2.0 functionality. And because that is readily available, that we're already doing, professors will have that local support with the online reps who can assist them in customizing their pages. We made a shift to the web course platform.
No, it wasn't.
I think you asked how long will a student have access to that particular platform. Each professor is actually going to set up their own classes, online portion.
Okay.
So essentially, that would run for a semester.
Okay, so sort of like setting up a Blackboard course.
You got
where
it.
Pick where, how long it.
You got it.
And what I think you were looking at the instructions here on this, saying that there's a code, and if you
I
want,
just saw that it was.
this is confusing because this has a code that would have been applied to that community server platform. Before we send out these books, we're going to have to remove that and have instruction material that's going to send it to it.
I would just challenge you about that model, because especially in these skills classes where the aha moment may come in the next semester, or maybe in the spring when they're doing a practical experience kind of thing, and they're coming back to the course materials as something that's comfortable in terms of learning, remembering the skills, and that by shutting them off of the information, you close them off of an opportunity to learn more. And I think it will build continuity. And I'm talking about like evidence, all these things. It's not, there's a level of learning that comes from actually doing it. And they're going to have to go back and check it out, right? And by doing it this way, I think it's different, and I think it gives a lot more credibility to what you're trying, the end result, which is students learn.
Yep. Is it Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd actually like to maybe at a later point take that up, because it's not that it's an absolute for the semester, that's what we're looking at, but based on feedback like you're saying, we could potentially look at, is there a way to open up additional access or something like that. So I appreciate that you're giving that feedback.
I wonder if you would give, because I know the problem is having someone to moderate the part that's, with a course page, you have the faculty members sort of doing that instruction and moderation. If at some point it splits and there's sort of the general access to information that might be useful without having to have someone moderate, if that would work within your.
I think that's something that's definitely something that we could look at again, based on what you think will work, and we've got flexibility within the platform.
Would the professors control it?
Course by course basis? Potentially. But I think, again, getting additional input on, we'd like to see if it could work this way, based on how we think it could further the learning of our students.
The other way to do it would be in the index, if let's take evidence that they're able to access maybe some of the exercises and stuff based on the rules of evidence. Do you know what I mean? So it can come up in a different way. I'm just thinking it's just too good to close the door on it.
I think that would make the instant author update feature really much more evident if it continues over their whole law school experience until they graduate. Then when a new cases come up and they're discussing this in future classes, what we learned last semester or last year in this class, the print copy won't update, but they can go back and if they can look at it and see, well, this is how it's changed.
It becomes dynamic then. That's very cool.
Yeah, and I like that's something that definitely we can look at either within the actual the actual titles themselves, or if there's potentially some kind of supplemental tool that allows for that discussion and that update that you're talking about.
No, I was just following up on what had been said for as far as like legal research, like before, I don't know whether the legal research or advanced legal research titles in the series, but one of the things that we look at when we're trying to adopt a textbook is, well, what is the value that this textbook is going to have as a resource going forward?
And so having some type of accommodation made for longer access would enhance that value.
The other thing that I was thinking about in a future title, let's say it was con law or torts or something like that, that what I've noticed is that a lot of the big principles that are being taught in con law are about cases that occurred before these students were born. They have no context, and and so we end up getting movies and things to give them a sense of place, and it would be very interesting to have you have that animation feature, and I wonder if that's going to expand to be more like videos, so that you could have trying to think of something, you know, pictures of the school in Little Rock, or you know, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly right. And you know, so that you're doing some of that stuff in small enough bites that because what some teachers have to do is edit down these movies and stuff, and there's a lot of historical information that probably would be very useful, like in the context of legal education. Yeah, that's great. It's happened to you too.
How would that work with videos? Would you have to acquire things that are not copyrighted for that kind of context?
Commissions.
Yeah.
It's mostly video created by the author.
Yeah.
Like, you want to show us?
Sure. Okay, before I get into that, here's the current titles planned for release. As you know, we've got the three negotiating evidence and trust. In August, we're releasing civil procedure, First Amendment, law, and torts. That's late, obviously, for adoption of a casebook. But because these are supplemental titles, civil procedure and torts can go over through the course of 2 semesters. There might be the possibility that some of those, we consider using this supplemental title. By the way, it's priced at $40. Then in the spring, we're releasing e-discovery and professional responsibility. Legal research and writing, I think that slipped to the summer. Family law.
No, not my.
I know, so I'm thinking that there might be an author issue there. Maybe looking for new family law authors and constitutional law.
Question. I noticed there's not much transactional work in that.
We are working on authorships, so to the extent that you or know of someone interested.
Don't you have an extra hour?
Tax is actually mentioned as something that we're certainly interested. I think there's a lot of application, especially timing of that type of release in 2010. It will be important as changes happen. And launch into web courses. Scott, Trish, do you have anything else to add before we?
Pictures worth $1,000.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, the picture is going to be a very low-tech version of what's going to come in about 4 to 6 weeks. As we've discussed, it's going to be powered through LexisNexis web courses. And are all of you familiar with web courses? Do any of you, by show of hands, actually use a web course?
How about Blackboard? Anybody here use Blackboard?
Twin?
I was forced to.
Actually, not as many as I thought.
Well, at the law school, a lot of it depends on if you're doing liaison work, what the choice is of the faculty member, then you have to be able to support them.
What about your own course, Brooklyn? Do you all have your own course management program? Or have you?
No.
I'm already in this web course page, and for those of you who are familiar with it, this looks pretty familiar. Here are my courses. There's a lot of courses here. for various things, including those adoption support pages that were mentioned that support a casebook. And so we're going to look at values evidence.
Do you have a rough idea of when you'll implement Blackboard 9?
Yeah, we're looking at probably late July. So, I mean, to that point, if if you happen to be building web courses currently, those are going to roll automatically to the 9.0. Part of the reason that we asked about Blackboard is that web courses is actually on a Blackboard foundation. So if you happen to be a school that has Blackboard, you can actually archive your courses and you would be able to roll them similarly. So it just happens that Skills and Values, this particular course management system really seemed conducive to housing this material and having flexibility and ability for you to add things to it as well as what the author has.
And I understand the look. I feel like it's going to be significantly different.
I wouldn't say significantly different. There's enough familiarity if you've used web courses or Blackboard before. However, some of the functionality Web 2.0 functionality, drag and drop, is going to be in there. There's going to be other things. I would probably say if any of you are going to be at WLL, we'll have a stronger preview of that particular platform and what it's bringing,
as well as its seals. Those will be included. So this is I signed on with the faculty ID. Students will have a different view. They won't have a teacher's manual. But when we send this out for review, professors can review it without actually having their own customized page to get the feel of it. If you adopt the book, you would just contact us and we would customize your review. So here's just an overview of the title. We've got author information, the teacher's manual, and because of the nature of the series, people like to look at different things in different ways. This has those different views. Some folks might want to look at just an assignment chart to get an overview of the assignments. For instance, Chapter 1 is going to cover this particular rule, which is anyway, it's a criminal court. It's a criminal case. This particular book has two cases: a robbery case and a swing set accident case. This is going to be the case follows the robbery. The special features, special online features, is a transcript with a voiceover, not a video. There's a list whether it contains ethical issues. The exercises will take about 30 minutes to complete, and it also has a level of difficulty within. Go through, click on the rule. That will bring you into the Lexis research system. Slowly. And the teaching notes look significantly, and this is just what was prepared for this particular book. Any given teacher's manual can look significantly different. Teaching notes is going to look a lot more like your traditional teacher's manual. Table of contents, an introduction, and it doesn't help to know how to access the web course.
I want to go to the TOC for the on the left hand. Some of the things that the students would actually be doing in conjunction with the book.
Sure. Table of contents has case files. It also has the same type of information, but sorted and housed differently. I think it has it housed, by the robbery case and by the swing set case. So I'm going to go down to Chapter 8. Impeachment with inconsistent statement and mission statement. And within this particular online piece, there's an actual police report, the direct examination, as well as the transcript of this impeachment hearing, and a video. I'm not going to show the video, but just to give you an idea of
The defense attorney, Chris Costello, is about to cross-examine Officer Averson. She plans to attack the officer's claim that the defendant was uncooperative when arrested and that he made incriminating statements. And she's going to do all of this using the officer's own report.
Good morning, Officer Averson. Good morning. My name is Christine Costello, and I represent Mr. Salmon. I was Texas Police. Okay. First of all, you wrote a supplemental report in this case? Yes, I did. You testified on direct examination that you received training at the police academy? Yes. Part of that training is on writing police reports. Correct.
It's pretty long.
Part of the training is in writing police reports.
So part of what you could imagine there, and I'd mentioned videos is one of the tools that you could incorporate into a course. And what we have in the skills and values is, if you look in the book and you see that there's an exercise, it'll actually say, for instance, go to the online component, listen to, watch the video, and then there's additional things. Again, go and, what did, what went right in cross-examination, what didn't, and then that can be an assignment that the student turns back in. So, the student has the ability outside of sitting in the classroom to be able to view that, to then come back and apply some of the things that they're learning. So that's just one of the examples that can be incorporated within, this particular series. Yep.
Okay, so at the beginning you had, I guess, kind of a mind map that kind of showed how this is presented. Would that mind map be an alternative way of displaying access to some of the information in the actual web course?
If I understand what you're asking, are you saying as an alternative it could be organized by here are the quizzes, here are the animations, here
yeah,
that kind of
or
thing?
where you had something that kind of maybe not it's quite as detailed as the mind map that you showed, but you would click on a button and the image, might come on. And like you access some of the materials that way.
That's certainly a format possibility. Where we went to is that on a symbolic level, you as the instructor can take the book and you can decide, which chapters in the book you want to assign to the student, which of those exercises are applicable. So you may say, for tonight, I want you to go through chapter 2, and I want you to do those exercises. So to be able to find that, table of contents is one standard way that people find the information. So, I hear, and that's why we did provide some alternative ways to find information, such as the case file button over on the left-hand side. I know I've got to do something relative to the robbery case or to the swing set case. So I'm going to go in there and find all the relevant information there. It could be that as the series evolves, that the feedback that we get is, gosh, it would be easier to find the information that way.
I think you have two demographics, the faculty and the students.
Yeah.
And the students may be more familiar with the mind map, and the faculty will be more comfortable with linear table contents.
I was just thinking about the digital Dropbox when students do assignments. Where does that information end up getting housed? Does it end up on a LexisNexis server, or does it go on the learning management system of the university?
No, with it being in web courses, first of all, in Blackboard 9.0, the digital Dropbox is going to be different place where assignments will go, and that essentially is housed on the hosting environment of web courses.
Okay, I'm just going to click through a few more of these things. Here we have the entire federal rules of evidence.
And that part, one of the things that David Thompson talked about in thinking about, okay, how do we teach students these skills about finding facts and finding information wherever it may live. And right now, with the internet and all of the different technologies that are out there, it lives in a lot of places. And so here, again, at a simplistic level, the book is going to be referencing pertinent federal rules of evidence and pertinent cases. So give them the ability to go out and kind of give them a head start on their legal research. But then they have the ability to stay within Lexis.com because that's where those are going and further the research. I don't know if,
Does this allow a student to customize the materials for themselves, mark them up, add sticky notes, highlight them, move pieces around?
No, not within the web course. Where they would do that kind of editing would be in an assignment perhaps that they started out, let's say in a Word document or something like that. It depends. But no, this doesn't have that capability.
In the interest of time, and I know some folks are wanting to get to the baseball game. A lot of the rest of this is very self-explanatory. Your syllabus, assignments that you're assigning, very course-specific things that you as a professor can add to this web course. So it becomes not only a skills and values platform, but a course management system. But I wanted to see if you wanted to talk about the 9.0 Wiki functionality.
I can talk about it really quickly. I mentioned that we are actually in the process of upgrading our web courses platform to Blackboard 9.0, and one of many things that new version brings is the Wiki functionality. Why is that pertinent to this particular discussion about skills-based training? It's because is anybody using wikis in their courses right now and using it, for instance, as an assignment? Yeah. So you could actually give a semester-long assignment that, and maybe you divide your students into groups and say, you as a group are going to develop your course outline. And you're gonna use the wiki technology to do that as you collaborate and change things and work together, and then ultimately you're going to come out with an end product. I don't know how many people think about using that. We will be using wiki technology for the teacher's manual so that the adopters can also contribute.
If you do that, will you allow the instructors to be able to see the track changes in the background of the wiki? Because that really helps with grading.
Right.
Because the groups are often imbalanced. Someone does a lot more than others, or someone's sabotaging another person's text or something like that.
I've had that question before, and I do need to check functionality that Blackboard is putting into the platform. So I will double check on that, because that makes perfect sense that you're part of what you as an instructor are doing are looking for participation and where that lies within the whole group.
It also kind of helps you tell the process if you can track what they change.
David, that was important to David Thompson, that component, because that's something that he incorporated into his course, and he, like you are mentioning, graded it, and then they used it as their study guide.
And it's something you can't do without the wiki tool. There's no other way for you to know how a group is moving together.
Right. On a little bit different basis, you can set up, your discussion board and your forums. I was actually in a session yesterday about distance learning with two professors from Stetson that talked about the use of forums in order to actually force participation in a class, which might go, But what they found was, you know, if you say, you as a student need to post X number of times each week, so, you know, that's functionality that is in here, and that's going to be specific to your class, so you can actually track that. You can set up logs. So start having discussion above and beyond what's happening in the classroom in order to further that thought process.
So any more questions? You know, it's pretty much getting close to 5 o'clock.